I think we can start now. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get started.
Awesome. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you're probably on your lunch hour, but please feel free to grab a snack or eat as you are here and enjoying the panel. Also, feel free to open up your mics and cameras. We encourage that a lot. This is not just about us, the panelists and myself talking to each other. We will also like to hear your voices. It's quite important for us as well. And yeah, first and foremost, thanks to the panelists, Cherie, Nessie, James, and Ilya, and Danny for organizing this event. We are here to discuss what is the future of UX and what is UX in the first place, right? Why is it important? What are some of the trends that are coming up in the following year and probably the following years as well? How can we leverage them? How can we use them? In case you're not a UX designer yet, but you're interested in this field, this might sound really interesting, and it might even make you consider moving to this discipline, hopefully. Yes, so we'll be touching upon some of these topics. I'm not gonna go too much in depth right now. But we first would like to know who you are. We would like to see your faces. We would like to get you excited and get the blood running. So I have here my colleague Danny, who will be supporting me with the technology and controls. So Danny, would you please be kind enough to send us to some breakout rooms?
Sure thing. I will send you over in about a minute.
All right.
That's all right.
That's right. Well, in the meantime, what we're about to do is a very interesting warm-up, as we call them in service design, because this is the format of a jam. A jam is more of an interactive discussion. It's more of a conversation, if you want to see it that way. This is not a conference. This is not a webinar at all. This is going to be a few of us who are very passionate for what we do. Some of us who are new in this area, and some others who are practicing these skills on a daily basis. So the jam will be basically between Cherie Wong, Nessie Luck, James Waters, and Ilya Belikin, and myself. The warm-up is going to be quite simple. We're gonna introduce my co-facilitator for the warm-up, who is Cherie. Thank you, Cherie, for helping me out on this one. And I will be leading the other breakout room. What Danny is gonna do for us, she's gonna send us to this interactive rooms, and then we're gonna start playing a little game. Hello, everyone. Hey, Danny. Thanks for bringing us back. All right, how was that? How did it go, Cherie? How did it go in your group?
It was interesting. I was trying, we have like, it was 50% people who turned on the camera. And it was interesting that it worked, although some people didn't turn on their camera. Yeah.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Some people are in the office, and
yeah, that's totally okay.
That some of them are even in a meeting, so it's kind of cool that they're still joining us. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for co-facilitating that, Cherie, and welcome everyone. I hope you feel a little bit more energized and a little bit more comfortable turning on your cameras. Today, we're gonna try to bring an experience to you with this jam format. So, going to the good stuff. First and foremost, I would like my fellow panelists and friends to introduce themselves. Perhaps we can start with Ilya, so that everyone knows who you are and what you do. Please, yeah.
Sure. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I feel as though there's someone giving me as a look on the sound. Yeah, thank you. So my name is Ilya. I'm a strategist at Bowtie here at the office, and most like it's Christmas time. There's very few people actually here today. but you're with me at the Bowtie office in Hong Kong. I'm a designer doing design for 25 years. And did all kind of design, so web design, app design, office design, service design. So at some point, you just realize there's a lot of commonality between different types of design. And I'm the most interested nowadays probably in organizational designs and education. But I still work for an insurance company, and it's the very beginning of this project for me. So I'm very excited about what we're doing at Bowtie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ilya, and welcome. Fantastic. How about we follow up with Cherie? Cherie, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Cherie. I am a service designer and UX researcher at PayMe HSBC. So is it okay if someone turns off their sound? Yeah, thank you so much. So, so right now I'm in the customer experience team, and prior to that, I was a UX designer in the design team within PayMe as well. So before that, I never thought I would work for a corporate. So I've always been in this startup environment. So I was a UX UI designer for a beauty tech startup company. So so yes, this is my little short UX, UI, and service design journey.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here, Cherie. How about we go to James? James, please, the mic is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you, wherever you are in the world. I'm James Waters. I'm a product designer here in Hong Kong. I was from sunny UK. And I've been working mostly in physical product design, but now I've just graduated from Xccelerate earlier this month from Xccelerate, and transitioning into a world of digital product design and UX. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Welcome, James. Thank you. And last but not least, Nessie. Nessie, please introduce yourself and mention something about you.
Yep, I'm Nessie. I'm still a student in Xccelerate, and Xccelerate is a UX UI bootcamp. I'm still actually a university student, and I study architecture, so I still have another year to go. So after I graduate, hopefully I'll be able to come back and work on UX UI.
Awesome. Yes, Nessie is one of my current UX students at Xccelerate. I'm very happy to have her and James as well, now an alumni and very talented designer working in Hong Kong. And yes, now I can introduce myself, I guess. My name is Kaleb, however you want to pronounce it. I work at Xccelerate. I work there as the head of design and also lead UX instructor. And what is Xccelerate? Xccelerate is a platform it's an edtech platform to connect new talent and the opportunities in the industry with that gap that we're trying to fill between UX, data science, and web development, and trying to offer companies brand new employees who can go and collaborate and possibly build better products. So today, our theme is the future of UX. What is the future of UX, specifically in Hong Kong, but also the world, since we have some people joining us from other countries and other time zones? I think it's going to be interesting to hear your point of view as well. And how are you using UX, or why are you interested in UX, and how it relates to your environment, to your context. So what is UX? I'm not going to provide you the academic term or definition. And but I do know that UX is at the core of what every customer experience delivers, every interaction that relates to any product, to any service. I know that that UX is what enables us human beings to interact with different devices. I know that it's what makes us wake up every morning and interact with our coffee machines and have a good experience and have a good result. So UX is not just related to apps or websites. It relates to business, it relates to psychology, it relates to market research, it relates to technology, right? Everything that we use and keep interacting with through a daily basis, and everything that would follow up with it. We're here to talk about some of these trends. Yes, of course. We know that we are in the middle of a very interesting scenario, right? Where we are more used to remote interaction. We are more used to personalization. Therefore, we need more behavioral research. We need to be more aware of our context. We need to be more aware of the content that we put out there. New interfaces like voice interaction, gesture control, motion design, micro interactions with interactive components, and digital literacy, right? What is VR? What is mixed reality? What is XR or extended reality, right? UX has been listed as one of the vital skills for any tech company, obviously, in 2022. So it means that luckily, this discipline is on the rise. Hong Kong is obviously also on this wave, is on this trend. But most importantly, I think the biggest focal point for UX designers is design responsibly, right? We tend to say we need to design for impact, we need to design for good, as I know my good friend Ilya continuously says. And I truly believe in that. I truly agree with him. And that's some of the bits that I want to bring to the discussion today. Again, this is an open session for anyone to mention any idea or to bring up any question that you may have. And that's about it. That's the introduction that I wanted to give you guys. And now I'm gonna start passing the mic to my colleagues. We're gonna have a few questions to incentivize this discussion. And I would like to start with the first question, if everyone feels okay with that. We all good? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thumbs up then. Let's start with some basics, okay? And again, it doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Ilya. It doesn't have to be James or Nessie. Anyone else who is in this industry who would like to share your point of view, feel free to do so. So my first question will be, how does UX involve UI, interaction design, or other creative industries? And what are some of the similarities and differences, if there are any? I see you nodding your head, Ilya, so I'll take that as a startup.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, man, you shared so much, and you're on point, right? The user experience design is so many things. I was over this weekend, I was reading Laozi, and he had like a small book called Daodejing or Daodejing, and it's written in 400 BC. At least this is what we know about it, like maybe older. And in this book, there's like an amazing passage. He says, "A good door is easy to open and doesn't need a lock." And when I read that, I immediately screenshot it for my course. I similar to you, I teach user experience design, and I constantly collecting some quotes and some references. So my course always starts with Norman doors, with the door, right? With this like a very common object, everyday object, how it's designed, right? And attention to it, because if you teach in a room, you have like a door in the room, right? If you teach over Zoom, how people enter Zoom, how they open the link. Link is a doorway to the Zoom room. But still, like there's still a lot of reflection and thinking you can do about like what you just did, how you entered this room, what was good or what was bad about this experience. So you reminded me about that. User experience design is over 2,000 years, it seems.
Yeah.
I used to say only 20 years. It seems to be a discipline which exists for a very long time. I feel as though like one of the most interesting conversations nowadays happening between service design and user experience design, right? Everyone I know who cares about design studying service design, while they may be still very interested in user experience design. And for me, it's just about geography and labels, right? Like names. So service design is obviously very strong in Europe, and service design is talking about design in the whole service. User experience design seems to be more like American theme, I guess. I don't know actually exactly like how it's all premutated. But good user experience designers will be talking about holistic experience, which is basically experience of the whole thing. What is exciting that I think for the very first time, last 10 years, we have very good common ground around design thinking. Like everyone seems to be agree and accept terminology and ways we talk about the process of design through design thinking. So this kind of unites all the designers. Doesn't matter what you do. And I think this is what exciting, because we're learning from each other, from service designers to experience designers. And the thing is evolving in a very good way.
Who best to exactly going into that comment that Cherie, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah,
I had a thought. I think it was. Yeah, thank you for the intro, Ilya. So I think it's a good point where you mentioned it also depends on the geography. I feel in Hong Kong and Asia, especially Hong Kong, when any company recruiter is hiring a UX designer, they tend to want to hire a designer with a very strong graphics background. So it is what it is in Hong Kong, but I would have to say, like, what are the similarities then between like UX UI or like UI solo or service design or interaction design? I think is that we all have the same or similar mindset of like a design thinking mindset. So to some people who might not be familiar with it, like, is it design oriented? It's not. It's really, I like to call it like a problem solving mindset, right? Like, for example, you don't have to be a designer to be able to have a design thinking mindset. For example, when I just transitioned from UX to service design recently, I was trying to like understand what am I lacking? What is the problem? You know, I try to understand, okay, what are the resources around me that I can use? You know, who can I talk to? Who is really the user of service designer? So like people who was working as a service designer in Hong Kong, right? So once I understand that, I try to like pick, okay, what can I quickly test in my current role or outside of work and see, okay, does it fit me as a career? And I felt like I quickly tested it, so then I went to take up this role. So I think, yeah, design thinking is the one that connects all.
Amazing. Paulina, I see you nodding a lot, and I know you well. So I know that this panel, it's meant to invite everyone, and I don't want to push anyone to talk, but I know that you have a lot to say. So what do you think about Cherie's comment?
Hi, Paulina.
Hi, Cherie. You know me too well, Kaleb. I think actually the last sentence did resonate with me. Actually, Cherie, what you shared resonates with me quite a lot, that it's really not necessarily about the skill set. It's really about the mindset and trying to understand, to focus more on the problem and what you can actually do in the moment. And it describes so well this year for me, because that's exactly what I have been trying to do on my journey of learning design, of learning both user experience design and service design. I figured out that ultimately it's not necessarily that you have to find a particular project. It's really more focusing on the thing that you're currently doing at hand and how do you approach it with their design toolkit, and kind of what do you learn in process. So I do agree with you quite a lot about that design thinking becomes that connection point that brings all the various aspects of design together. And it's really more about how do you solve problems here and now with a very test mindset as well, right? So these are what we call iterations or tests. So technically, what can we do right now in a very quick way so that we can find the real data rather than staying in our head? So yeah, that's kind of what's it's really resonated with me. So that's why I was like, oh yeah, great.
Yeah. Design doing, not design thinking. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's a really big connection between doing and thinking. And I think for me, the learning of this year is that you definitely think about like what you want to test, or you think about the problem, but it's really about the doing part that actually brings the essence, that brings the context, that brings the whole experience, and actually gives you this next opportunity to reflect and think more. So I think quite often we have a tendency to overthink and to kind of try to think even deeper and deeper and deeper, hoping to understand the situation better. But through design, you understand a problem through testing and doing and interacting
Yeah.
with the problem rather than just thinking about it.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Paulina. I think that is what brought us all to this jam, right? To this discussion. And I also would like to hear, you know, from James Waters, who is part of this panel. James actually, he has an extensive background in design, right? He's a former industrial designer trying to transition now into more of a UX role. And I don't know, I would like to ask you, James, because I'm sure that many other people have this question in their head, right? Should I transition or not? What made you pursue your UX design career now?
Hey, so thank you very much. I've always been passionate about design, curious about all things visual or creative, using my hands to build stuff from school to university, even into Hong Kong. And I think recently, over the last couple of years, I've really enjoyed hearing people's stories more and more through professionally designing products. I was designing consumer electronics before, telephones to baby cameras, camera flash guns, and more recently, robot arms for factories. But I think my passion for UI and UX came about when I was working on these robot arms for factories, and I had the opportunity to dive deep into the UI to control and manipulate the robot arm. When I was working on this project, it's something I was perhaps lacking the skill sets to kind of finish, you know, like a proper end result. So I began learning more into UI and UX online, and that's when I just stumbled across Xccelerate. And I think the whole design process is something I've always enjoyed from start to finish. And I think it's nice to learn properly through Caleb's help, of course. So yeah, so it's, I think it's, for a designer point of view, it's nice to see people use your products, you know, once you've put all that time and commitment into it. It's a very rewarding and satisfying experience.
That's awesome. Well, you know, something that connects me and something that relates me to James straight away is because I'm also a former industrial designer. I feel the same way as James. I've always been super passionate about design and anything that relates to it. That's why you will constantly hear, or well, you know, I'm a UX copywriter. I'm a UX researcher. I'm a UI designer. I'm a space designer or interior designer. Architect slash you name it, right? Like immersive experience designers, you name it. The bottom line is that design is this overarching tool that we all use with the right mindset, with the right set of skills that can interconnect at all times. And UX is that secret formula that kind of like connects everything. Because as James was mentioning, if he didn't consider UX or user experience when designing these robotic arms, then the overall result wouldn't be positive. It wouldn't really satisfy a true user need. And I think that is why UX is this very interesting word that a lot of companies and a lot of industries are paying more attention to, but they don't really necessarily understand it yet. And then it comes back to the point that Paulina was bringing up, right? For her, it's not really about applying a specific process or thinking about the theory behind what she's going to do. It's about putting her hands on and trying to understand what other customers are feeling or experiencing, and then trying to come up with the best proposal as possible, something that really solves that issue. And you know, I know that Nessie is being a little quiet, but she's an architect student herself, and now going through Xccelerate's full-time UX course. What advice would you give to someone, Nessie, who is considering to join a course like this, a bootcamp, or to join UX as a career?
Honestly, for me, it was mostly just I went for it. I did a little bit of research and just went for it because for me personally, I don't really want to go into architecture anymore because there's just so many more years ahead and I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And I just go in and start working. And so I did my research on design programs and design workshops and that sort of thing. And I came across UX and UI, and that's kind of how I got into the bootcamp. So yeah, if you're like in the middle and you're kind of just thinking like whether you should go for it, just go for it and maybe try it. If you don't like it, you can still go back. So yeah, just go for it, guys.
Yeah, I'd like to add, like, even if you don't feel like, okay, I'm not sure if after studying the course, if this is a career that I can pursue, having this knowledge and apply to your own.
Yeah. Oh, no,
to your, you know, the current job that you are doing is still very valuable.
Yeah, I also like to add, like, even though I'm no longer doing architecture, a lot of the skills I learned throughout my architecture course, I could still implement in UX UI. So it's actually beneficial, even if you don't want to do UX UI in the future. Like a lot of the skills you can still implement in maybe design work or any sort of like thinking in the future.
Yeah, I was studying in design school, which was mostly run by architects. And I learned so much through them. But at the time when I was studying from them, I was kind of frustrated because I was already working in digital. And it was frustrating because like these people don't understand digital, right? So I was young and kind of arrogant, and I was like, you don't understand what I do. I want to learn about what I do, because I wanted to get like more applicable to me at the moment. I was like a web designer, another type of designer. And much later in life, like 10 years later, I find myself reading architectural books and remembering what we were talking about in the class, and like, oh my God, this is so deep. This is about user experience. It's not just about, you know, like one of the things which stood out to me is that if you want to design a chair, you design a chair in a room. If you want to design a room, you design a room in a building. If you want to design a building, you design a building in a city. This resonated with me so much, much later on in my life. And of course, all of these things like yes is more or less is more, and conversation around that by more than today's architects. Like Bake, for example, they released a book called Yes is More about their design process. It's incredible. It's very, very deep. I think anyone who kind of take design, choose whatever scope, right? Whatever you do, maybe gardening, and apply design really well to the scope, eventually come to some fundamental truth, which is transferable across all the design disciplines.
I have a question for Ilya or anyone here. So I still have this question, you know, after 3.5 years in this industry, like how do you how have you tried to explain to, you know, who's new to design thinking or UX, or, you know, stakeholders you're working with who has no background on this? How do you try to explain the importance of this? Not trying to convert them, but trying to explain, you know, the value of what you're doing.
I think one of the most important things in design is empathy. And where people usually start when you ask you this question, they start from a point of, oh, you're different from me. You're like a designer. I remember I was working for a French company, and our boss of marketing, also co-founder of the company, used to take people into my room and show them my iMac and do like, you know, this movie, like he's user experience designer, like something magical, something like a unicorn, something like a special species and something. So over time I realized is if you kind of lean into that, it's more like an ego-driven thing. So it doesn't help to say like, oh yeah, I'm so special, so special. So what I'm doing instead is that I'm trying to really first establish common ground that if you solve problems, you're already doing what I'm doing, just with a different focus or scope or tool set. Pretty much everyone who is building a business, for example, they do design, they do discovery, they try to understand how the product fits into the market, and they formulate what the pitch is, and then they do the market, right? So the process is very similar. At the beginning of any company, if there's any problem was solved, there's empathy towards problem solving. And since design is just a systematic discipline about problem solving with specific tool set, so it starts from trying to find common ground, trying to find when they are designers so that they can empathize with me when I'm talking about these things. The first problem is to break a barrier between, oh, you're so different. No, I'm not different from you at all. We're all human beings. We're all solving problems every day.
That is right on point, Ilya. You know, there's this amazing design philosopher, Enzio Mancini, who wrote a book called Design When Everyone Designs. And democratization of design is what has here today, because everyone wakes up and it's already designing. You're designing what you're going to eat. You're designing what you're going to wear. You're designing what kind of commute system you're going to use. You're designing your thoughts. You're designing solutions as you're walking through the street. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I wait for the red light or not? And so it's extremely interesting to think that we are creative beings. That's what has us here today. And by being creative beings, it means that we are constantly planning things. And the design, if you look the word design on the dictionary, it actually means the process of planning something. It's not actually a result. It's not actually an output. Design is, as you guys know, it's iterative, and it's a forever going process, right? And I like to think of design in that way, as a plan, because you were mentioning, right? It relates to businesses. It relates to services. Design is what makes you go to shop in a store and not go to the other one, or to continue going back to that one, but actually also sharing it with your friends, right? That sense of experience, that sense of, I go to that shop because the different touch points, the person who greets at me, the person who gives me the napkin, who writes my name on the tag, I care about that, right? And that's what makes me go back and again share that store with other people. So people who are thinking, you know, I'm not that creative, or I'll never be a designer, that's honestly an absolute lie. You are a designer. Everyone here in this room, to a certain extent, has the possibility to design something in any shape or form. And that's why we have people here from many different places in the world, right? And that kind of follows up to my next question, which is, for example, sure.
I'm so sorry. Before we go for this question, you said something very, very important, and I want to comment on that. Do you mind?
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. When you mentioned about this book, I don't remember the name, but you mentioned about this idea that you design, like when you wake up, you design your day, your thoughts, your breakfast, your right? One thing is very, very important to understand, that user experience design is responsible for how people design that, because it's a question of free will. Of course, you design all of the things only given that you actually make these decisions during the day. But the reason why responsible design is so important today, because it's designers who make these decisions for you. You wake up and you go wherever you used to go, and you eat breakfast someone cooked for you. Someone else designed this service and this product for you. And you cross the street on the green light, or maybe you go on the red one. It's your decision. Maybe you made it in the moment, or maybe you made it like far back. At some point, you decide to always go on green light because you believe you are a good citizen, for example, right? I'm a bad one. I go on the red one. So this thing, and there's a recent article by Yuval Noah Harari, the author of Homo sapien and then Homo Deus. He also wrote a very recent article in Guardian, Myth of Freedom. And he goes very deep into this idea that it's very idealistic to believe that people make this decision day in, day out. They don't. We make very little decisions in our life in general, right? A lot of decisions are already designed for us by politicians, by designers, by industrial designers, by user experience designers, by Facebook designers. Whatever they designed. And in the recent 10 years, we become really good at creating attention grabbers and creating these hooks and manipulating your attention to a point when people start making less decisions and get much more frustrated about technology and about their social life in general because of what we designed for them. So this is something I really want to, because it's like this point of view that you actually make all those decisions. It's very like, you need to be a saint, like really conscious person to do. Go ahead.
Oops, sorry, it was just me trying to mute. Never mind.
You succeeded. It's great, but maybe you want to say something, no?
Oh no, sorry. There was just somebody who didn't realize I was on a Zoom call, and I was trying to tell them like, oh no, please, I'm gotta.
It's fine. No worries.
So sorry about that.
That's the beauty of doing this, Christina. No worries at all.
Yeah, sorry. I feel a lot of you guys are like it's like daytime. It's at you're at the office. I'm not. It is almost 9 p.m. here. And
where are you? Are you, Christina?
I'm in Los Angeles.
All right, Christina, are you a UX designer yourself?
Wait, sorry, the sound cut out a little bit.
Are you a UX designer?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I've been working with a tech consulting startup here in Santa Monica, Los Angeles. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
amazing. This is amazing.
Where's everyone else from? Like, are you guys in Hong Kong or something?
Most of us.
Hong
There's-
Kong? Oh my God.
There's people
I
from
don't think
Belgium,
I've ever.
other people's in the
Okay.
States. Yeah.
We have someone from Chicago. We have someone from, I forgot another one, but not the Hong Kong was. Like, there's a bunch of people from all over the world, yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's really Boston. There we go, Joyce.
Yeah.
Which, actually I want to ask Christina, since we're already talking, do you think UX is something that you can do anywhere in the world? Is it a global citizen kind of job? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, sorry if I'm like ever interrupting the sound. I think it's because I'm so far away. Maybe it has to do with that. The sound for some of you is cutting in and out a little bit. So, is UX how universal is it? It's definitely super universal because I've been to a bunch of different countries and like it matters everywhere. It's very, very similar everywhere in a way. And I know that it's based off, a lot of it is based off of psychological principles, and a lot of, even though like, those things vary by culture to culture, I think a lot of UX depends on things that are more universal.
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. Definitely. I mean, UX is kind of rooted in anthropology, right? And ethnography and psychology. That's why one of the trends for actually 2022 is behavioral studies. How do we understand more and more our users through data, through qualitative research, through some of these UX processes that we need to understand in order to be able to practice them, right? As Paulina was mentioning earlier today. Thank you so much, Christina, for sharing. It's really nice to see so many people from different places and staying up late to have a discussion with us. It's actually really, really cool. And I know that we're running a little bit short in time here, but I want to open up this question. Whomever wants to answer, doesn't matter if you are a senior designer or just starting your career or considering it. Why do you guys think it's a good time to start a UX career? Why now? Why in 2022? And can anyone learn UX? Is that possible? If anyone wants to answer, please feel free. See a lot of people thinking. Yes, Brenda, please go ahead.
So I'm not actually in UI or UX design. I'm a psych major. So for me, I think the reason why I got interested in UX is because of something that you mentioned earlier on in the jam, where you talked about things like artificial reality and virtual reality, extended reality. That kind of is opening up a space for a lot of new research into interaction ecologies. And we have this situation where you've got stuff like humanoid robots like Sophia by Hanson Robotics, or human-like artificial intelligence. And you've got this kind of a paradox where you've got people who are super interested in them theoretically, but get a little bit repulsed when they actually interact with them. So I think something like user experience or user interaction becomes super interesting to explore in this kind of a space, because you want to normalize these kind of interactions, but you don't know how. So that's
why you want to normalize them?
Well, because it's actually quite interesting. Why wouldn't you want to normalize them?
You see, like this effect of uncanny valley when you look at Sophia, and Sophia is like a good marketing tool, I guess, but not a good robot. I think it's natural and it's great, because there's this feeling of, oh, this is not quite human. I think it's quite important for humans to be able to distinguish humans and not humans. I have the similar feeling when I look at deep fakes, right? I'm very grateful for my brain to be good enough of a machine learning kind of thing to recognize patterns and see that there's something off with them.
I mean, I do understand why you'd want to be able to distinguish them, but what about the benefits that you can get from leveraging these kind of interactions? Because something like a chatbot, for example, also sometimes sends us into the uncanny valley, but we still interact with it in a normal manner. But it's only when we see it visually is when you have this kind of a divide. But there's so many kind of, I guess something like a humanoid robot could be used for education. It could be used as support in so many industries. So, I mean, it would be interesting to see how you could normalize those interactions in a manner where you're able to still perceive them as different from humans, like from actual humans, but you're still able to use them to the best of your abilities.
Oh, this I very, very much agree. Like, we're definitely going to talk a lot more these different kind of agents, right? Being embodied or not embodied. And this is very important to know that you're talking with an agent and appreciate it for what it is. But where it goes wrong from my point of view in terms of ethical design is that when people really try hard to try to make sure that you don't understand that you're not interacting with a human being at the moment. So, you know, maybe Google a couple of years ago when they released the very first thingy, which was talking on the phone, they got a huge pushback, and I think very justifiable pushback for saying like, no, I don't want a technology which will trick me in thinking I'm talking with a human. It's not the case, right? Similarly, I don't want to, like, I'm looking at you right now. I hope it's you, right? If you will trick me into being a Sophia-like robot right now, on one hand, it's kind of up to you how you represent yourself in the world as part of your identity, right? But if you're not really a conscious being, but a machine created to mimic that, I want you to be upfront about that. I want to introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm at this artificial intelligence and I'm talking with you. Is it fine? And like, sure, fine. Now. Any time of the day, I will be talking with artificial intelligence, maybe. Or maybe I say like, no, sorry, I don't have my time for artificial people. I want to talk with real one.
It's very interesting, Ilya. It made me think about like, like how we're changing in 2022. And so for example, like, it's a fact that, okay, the pandemic happened and then we're, very used to, meeting on Zoom, less in-person meetings. So there is a shift in our behavior and what we are getting used to. For example, these insurance agents, they're meeting their clients less in person. So I do think like, moving forward, there is a lot more emphasis on like, on the online world. People we're now so much in the metaverse, for example. So I think, I would say, well, there's no like best time to jump in. I thought it was like 3 years ago, but like, I think because we are, emphasis is much more on the online world right now. I think, it's never too late to jump in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like Sana, thank you so much. She asked a very interesting question that kind of relates to what we're talking about. She just asked, do you believe UX design will go disappear after AI starts calculating how can they make experiences mathematically perfect? I honestly, it's a very heavy loaded question, but I honestly believe that this is actually the time where we need more UX designers, right? Because who is going to train this artificial intelligence? Who is going to transfer, hopefully, good knowledge? Who's going to transfer good ways to understand and experience whatever service or whatever product that you're working with or interacting with? If we train the AI incorrectly, right? If we just code, if we just send mathematically or algorithms into this machine learning device, the result might probably be counterproductive. So UX designers have that responsibility to keep on interacting with technology in order to design technology that actually brings good to people and to this planet. So I don't think we're out of business anytime soon. It's the opposite. I think we're actually going to become more and more on demand in Hong Kong and anywhere else in the world. But I don't know if anyone has another opinion. Please feel free. That's just me.
I'd like to chime in.
Go ahead
Quickly. Hi everyone, I'm Larry Levan. I'm based out of Los Angeles.
Awesome.
So quickly, yeah, no, I mean, totally agree with everybody. I think UX is going to be even more important, especially both on the business side and the end user side. For the business side, we know that businesses are generating tools, right, to help them generate more revenue to help with efficiency of their operations. So if the tools are not designed in a way for the users to use correctly, then that's going to impact their business KPIs, like their metrics on ensuring that they're being able to deliver in a timely fashion. Are they able to deliver to market, and does the product even have utility, like usefulness to the end user? So I think on the business side, user experience is going to be really helpful for service design. It's going to be helpful for understanding the user's mental models, just like overall. It will also just making sure that the business is also tailoring to the user's needs so that there's a value loop. There's a return on investment to the business. So the more synergy, the more alignment between the users and the business would mean that there should be optimal returns in the long run, both short-term and long-term outcomes. So yeah, kind of it on my end.
These are the systems that we in, so I absolutely agree with you, right? I mean, the systems that we live in are a little bit obsolete to a certain extent. Some good things can be rescued, but there's definitely a lot of things that we need to improve, and leaving that to artificial intelligence or other means of technology will not do the cut. So it is up to designers. It is up to people who design how this synergies, how this holistic experiences actually run in the back. And that's by understanding strategic factors, right? And the macro level and the micro level of the world that we live in. I know that this discussion is lit. I know that we're going somewhere extremely deep, but I do want to be very respectful of everyone's time. However, we will do more jams like this. So if you had a good time, if you're interested, please, Danny, go ahead and share what you got for us.
For sure. I mean, thank you everyone for coming today. It's been a really great turnout. Thank you to the speakers for coming along. Before you go, I just wanted to share with you some of what we offer at Xccelerate in case you'd like to know more about what we do and how you can engage with us if interested. So I will just share with you a couple of slides. So firstly, if you're just starting out, I know there's a lot of people here who are already in the UX field, but especially for people based in Hong Kong who are considering pursuing a career in tech, we have career consultation services that we offer to help provide some guidance and let you know how to get started. So there's a link below. And for all these resources I'm sharing, I'll send some follow-up email with all the resources for you to find more information on as well. We've also got some upcoming courses starting in early January. So if you're interested in kind of reskilling yourself, we'd really encourage the part-time or full-time courses. And if you want to know more on these, you can contact Aka. So her details are on the next slide here. So I'll leave that for a few seconds. Just to let you know, our full-time courses are 4-month bootcamp intensives that we recommend for beginners to UX or other areas of the tech industry. If you join the bootcamp, we assume that you will come out job ready and ready to kind of switch careers and get started. So it's a really good opportunity. The part-time courses as well are good if you're happy in your current role, but are just looking to build on the skill and kind of use that design thinking to really improve on what you're working on. So that's something you consider as well. We've also recently launched our job board to connect hiring companies with tech talent. So if you're interested in looking for a new role, we recommend that you can sign up and start applying for jobs. And if you're a company looking to share any of your openings, feel free to get in touch as well. Yes. As Kaleb mentioned, we're definitely looking to run more of these interactive jams in the future. We're hoping to host some on our new platform, Xccelerate Live, where we'll be having mentors lead expert-led jams, similar to the topic today. So please keep an eye out for those. And finally, just to touch on our upcoming events for January, we've got a Women in Data interactive workshop. If you're interested in learning more about data science, feel free to come along. This one's based in Hong Kong, but if you'd like further information, just let us know. And lastly, we've got our Tech Career Fair happening in March 2022. This will be an in-person event opportunity for you to meet with hiring companies who actually have jobs live on our job board, so you can potentially come out of the fair with a new job. So definitely keep an eye out for that as well. I know we've probably gone over time now, but I'd just like to offer a last opportunity for anyone to ask any questions to the speakers, or if you'd like to close the day with any last thoughts, that would be great.
Hey, I do one thought.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Ilya.
Yeah, just like a slide on the screen, so I'm not sure if you can see that. Okay. When you think about artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's like leverage, right? So we just lived through a few decades when internet and network growth, and then mobile, and then online payments and everything become adding leverage to the companies, to your services, what you can put online, what you can create. And we kind of lived just now, we live in true consequence of using leverage for short-term results without really thinking about long-term as much, and kind of how these companies basically become like evil in the eye of the public, right? So something like a digital detox for any UX designer who involved in building digital products is like, oh shit, people prefer to really disengage with my products because it damages their psyche by engaging with my products. If you're a designer who was trying to build some great experiences, it's actually very painful to see it in society and realize, oh, this is where we come as an industry, right? It's a feedback to the whole industry, not only to Facebook or Google. Like when you see people saying, I'm struggling with technology, when you see studies showing that people become teenage girls become suicidal because of Instagram, right? This is very real. And who's responsible for that? UX designers responsible for that, not people who created business models or right? You as a UX designer have to raise your voice and talk back to your management, and you have to really have this clarity. So now we enter in another very rapid, already unfolding very, very quickly period of incredible leverage, which is machine learning. This is how I look at it. The power of design and the responsibility of a designer increase 10 times again. And if you don't really step up and look at this as it is, as our direct responsibility to create more ethical products, we're going to live through the worst scenario of cyberpunk, not the best fun cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is dystopia, right? So I don't want to live through dystopia.
Yeah, me neither. Right on point. Thank you so much, Ilya. Exactly that. If you are, I read recently, right? If you think that your role, your position, your salary is going to determine who you are as a designer, you're absolutely wrong. It's actually your agency, your voice inside a company. It's what you can bring up to the discussion that actually brings value to you, because it's when you actually use design as a cultural transformation, not just around, in society, but actually starting inside out. Start with your team, then go to your, go ahead and work with your company, with your organization. And then hopefully that organization starts inspiring the people around them, right? Other organizations, and that's how it goes. So I totally resonate with that. And I do believe that that's why we're in business. That's why I'm standing up here and talking to all of you, and I can sense that many of you resonate with that. So cheers to that. And I hope we can have another discussion soon. And thank you, Nessie, James, Ilya, Danny, of course, Paulina, everyone who contributed to this very interesting chat. And we're gonna continue doing this for sure and keep designing for good, right, Ilya?
Yes, design for good.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys very soon, and keep in touch.